All right, you guys, so we're back. We have another great piece of content we're going to talk about. I did see this yesterday on Twitter, and I did see the tweet, and of course I saw something this morning as well. So let's cover this bit of content. So this is from Chess-Based India. It says, this is what Magnus Carlson had to say about GMHikaru and his race towards qualifying for the FIDE Candidates Tournament in 2026 at the press conference for the Freestyle Chess Grand Slam Tour Finals in Cape Town, South Africa. Here's the full quote. Now, I'm just gonna show the quote. We don't need to read through that top part. It says, why would you require somebody who's very clearly good enough to play in the candidates to play these tournaments, which he doesn't really have time for? Well, you want to have the best players in the candidates, and he's clearly one of them. So this is an important note. Jump straight into the article. Truly a content machine. Thank you so much, Darth Vader, for the comment. Yeah, so I did cover the actual video from the press conference the other day. Let me grab a swig of coffee just to keep myself waking up. So we did cover the actual video where Magnus said this. I generally would say that I was not surprised by Magnus's take. There are a couple of important things about this. I think as far as chess goes, what tournaments are important, what tournaments don't matter it's very subjective, I think. And so when I saw this, I was like, okay, as he said this, he thinks I'm clearly the number 2 or number 3 player in the world. I don't think there's anybody who would dispute that. Whether it's me or Fabiano or the other way around, I don't think anyone would dispute it over the long term. I should say over the last couple of years. So this tweet was nice. It was very, kind of like heartfelt. I liked it. And then of course this morning, as is typical of everything related to chess, we had to see a tweet from Emil, who of course is the CEO of FIDE. Now, I was not surprised to see the tweet. I knew the moment that I opened Twitter this morning it was probably gonna be something negative, and sure enough, Emil never fails to disappoint. So let's see what Emil says. He writes, clearly good enough is a bad definition to select a player in the FIDE candidates. Now, when Emil says this about bad definition, my attitude is that if you're going to say these sorts of things, especially as someone who is in a position who controls how things go, like he's the CEO of FIDE, he's the CEO of the governing body of chess. When you say it's a bad definition to select a player in the candidates, it leads to the first question. Why do you have a rating spot, first of all? And then secondly, why do ratings even matter? Why don't you come up with a new system that changes things completely if that's the case? Because the chess ratings have worked this way for a very, very long time. The rating system has been around since I believe was it 71 or was it even earlier than that? I forget when the exact first FIDE rating came out, but it's been about 50-ish years that we've had the current rating system. So clearly good enough. There are people who would advocate that that you should just use top 8 players in the world by rating, and by going off of that, that's what should determine the candidates. For example, everybody looks at the ratings, they're like, wow, these ratings. It's like anytime you look at a top level tournament, one of the goals is you want to have the top rated players in the world. Like if you can have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, you're like, wow, this is the best tournament in the world. Oh, it was 71. It's July 71. Okay, so this is the first thing that I'm not surprised by it, but it's important to note in terms of definition, because by definition, rating is supposed to be the golden standard of how good you are at chess. So unless we and then he goes on, he says, unless we return to a wildcard system in candidates not under my watch, it can't work. Okay, I don't know what he means by it can't work. Is he saying that there shouldn't be a rating spot? Is he saying that they have to change the tournaments? I don't know what he's saying. I don't think he knows what he's saying even, because I don't think there's anything specific in here. So let's keep going. He doesn't really have time for is more alarming, though. Really, we are talking about qualification, the most important tournament in 2 years. How come a top pro is supposed to qualify by rating that proves he is still a very top pro, does not have time? It is wrong on so many levels. Now, this is the part that makes me laugh, okay? Because this is the part that's just very, very disingenuous. I have said this literally since 2020 or 2021. I think 2021 is the first time I said it. I have literally made it very, very clear that I earn a living from streaming. Streaming and content creation pays much better than chess. It is not my fault that pays better than chess. It is the fault of FIDE that they are unable to get sponsors and raise the profile of chess. Everybody talks about how so many people play chess. Something like 500 million people around the world globally play this great game that we all love. And yet FIDE is unable to get prize funds that are comparable to how much I earn as a streamer. So that's the first thing that makes me chuckle about it. That's the first part that I'm gonna state, is that it makes me chuckle because I've made it very clear that the prize money in chess tournaments isn't good enough. Now, if you're the CEO of the governing body, do your job, get more sponsors, raise the profile so that top players make more money. That's the first point that I'm going to make. Now, the second part about this is it doesn't have time for. What does he mean by I don't have time? What does is more alarming though? I played the 40 games. FIDE rules state you have to play 40 games of classical chess in order to qualify for the tournament. Did I play 40 games? Yes. Did I actually take my time to go play these tournaments? I did. I went and played these tournaments. I went and played in Prince Edward Island. Rainbow did that whole great video of me driving from the Nova Scotia airport with Chris. So I did play the 40 games. So I don't really I mean, to be fair to Emil here, this might be just a response to Magnus, but I played the 40 games. I did nothing wrong. I followed the rules. I played the 40 games. Now, what I will say on this, which I've stated a few times, is that FIDE should have required the players to have played either the Grand Swiss or the World Cup. Very, very clearly, I've said this. You should have to play one of those tournaments. Now, in past cycles, that has always been the case, by the way. That has always been the case. It's always been the case that you've had to play the Grand Swiss or the World Cup. Now, as I stated before, and I know Emil continues to try to pretend that this isn't the case, there's a very specific reason that it was not required for this cycle. The reason it was not required to have to play the Grand Swiss or the World Cup is because there's one player who will always be the #1 rated player in the world so long as he chooses to play, and that player is Magnus Carlson. Now, Magnus is clearly the #1 player in the world. Nobody's going to dispute that. Not me, not anybody. And so there was no way that FIDE could ensure that Magnus would have to play the Grand Swiss or the World Cup. They could not ensure it. So they wanted to give Magnus a backdoor route to be able to play in the candidates if he just suddenly woke up one day and was like, you know what? I want to get that World Championship title back. Now there are people who are going to try to pretend that's not the case, but let's keep it real. We all know that's the reason, because every past cycle you had to play the World Cup or the Grand Swiss. You had to play one of those two tournaments, and magically it's missing. Magically it's gone suddenly. Out of nowhere, it's just gone. Like, it's just gone. You don't have to play. So that's my view, is I think you should have to play that. But of course, if I'm given the choice between having to travel halfway around the world or play here in North America, specifically the US or Canada, especially with my wife being pregnant, obviously I'm going to play in the US. Obviously I'm going to play 2 games a day and get the games out of the way immediately. Are you scared? Yes, you guys. I mean, I laugh at that too. Because the fact is, every turn I've played, with the exception of the last couple of months since I unretired from chess in 2022, with the FIDE Grand Prix, the Canadas, the American Cup, the Norway chess tournaments, like, I've played against the absolute best players in the world, and I've maintained my level. Actually, it's not maintain my level. I've gained a bunch of rating points. It's not even about maintaining my level. I've gained a ton of points. So I kind of like, I mean, maybe he's just saying the Magnus bit about here, but I played the 40 games. And also, like I've said before, there's so many people who try to pretend. How come a top pro? I've said 1,000 times, and I'll say it for the 1,001st time today. I am a content creator first. There is a reason I am a content creator, and that is because chess does not pay as well as content creation. Full stop. Full stop. So let's keep going. The requirements are actually very modest, and in hindsight, too modest. Easy to game. Our fault. But to call a requirement to actually play chess wild is wild. Okay. It's funny. That's funny. Going forward, I'll submit a proposal eliminating rating spots altogether towards the Canada's 28. World Cup, Grand Swiss, FIDE Circle, now Total World Championship Tour will be the path to qualify. Now, the important thing that I'm going to say here is broadly speaking, I don't have a problem with them getting rid of the rating spot. Some people are probably to think that I have an issue with that, even though you're in this context. He's mainly criticizing Magnus' statement here. Yeah, but Emil's taking a million shots at me, so it's all fair game. Now, it's really funny as well. What's really funny to me as well is that I will say this bluntly. There is no perfect system. So if I want to be really pure about chess, I'm going to say, you know what? There should be no spots from the World Cup, for example. Why should people who play the World Cup, who play tiebreaker games, have matches that are decided in blitz or rapid chess, qualify for classical tournament? Why is there the Total World Championship? This is going to be rapid and blitz tournaments qualifying for the candidates. Why are people making it into the candidates when they're able to play rapid and blitz chess, and that's deciding instead of classical chess? As an example. So I think this whole notion of people getting bent out of shape and like worrying and all these other things and just losing their minds, it's really quite sad, frankly, because there is no perfect system. Like there is no perfect system. So it's like I play classical games against a little bit lower rated competition. It's like suddenly the end of the world, even though of course I gain no rating points from that. Or you know, you have these other tournaments, even the World Championship. Frankly, look at the World Championship. If you look at the World Chess Championship, Magnus Carlson, when he defended his title against both Sergei Karyakin and Fabiano Caruana, he defended that in rapid tiebreakers. Those matches were not decided in the classical form of chess. So in general, I mean, I think that it's just complaining when it's really unnecessary, in my opinion. I don't see the value in it. I don't see the value in it whatsoever. And I think it's sad because also another thing, when we look at the current situation with chess where Magnus is no longer really involved with FIDE outside of playing the World Rapid and Blitz, this is also something that is directly Emil's fault. I'm going to say this too, and I've said it before, and this is factual. This is not made up. Like I've heard this from multiple sources whom I trust. Is that when you look at Magnus Carlson and the reason that he stopped defending his world championship title during the FIDE Canada's tournament in 2022, Magnus and his father Henrik were in Madrid during the tournament negotiating with Emil and Arkady Dvorkovich, who are basically at the top, who are the heads of FIDE, about like Magnus playing. And ultimately with Emil, some stuff started leaking out to the press. Magnus and his dad got really mad about it, and what happened is Magnus did not defend his title. So this current situation we're in, also chess-wise, is directly Emil's fault. And I've said this before, I'll say it again, but that's actually simply the truth. That's the reality about the situation, and it's really crazy to see. So it's like there's so much of this stuff, and now you know the whole reason we're in this situation to begin with is because of Emil in the first place. The other thing I'm going to say that I think is really sad when you look at this is you look at Magnus. He's done with FIDE. You look at me. Many times Emil goes after me, and honestly, a lot of people have asked me actually when I play these you know Mickey Mouse quote unquote tournaments. A lot of people were asking me, they're like, why don't you keep playing? You clearly are at the top level and everything else. And one of the biggest reasons that I don't intend to play classical chess much longer is very specifically because of nonsense like this. When you see people who are supposed to be professional running organizations, you know, taking shots at everybody, whether it's Magnus, whether it's me on social media, it leads to a situation where it's like, I don't have to deal with this. I don't have to put up with this nonsense. And that is one of the biggest reasons that I don't really intend to play classical chess that much longer. And the last point I'm gonna make about this that I think is really insane is you look at chess. You look at Emil. It feels like he's consistently trying to antagonize Magnus or me for that matter. And when you see that happening, it's like there's something wrong with the situation. When you're the number one player who wants to have nothing in the world, nothing to do with you guys, and you basically push the number two player in the world to where he also doesn't really want to have anything to do with you guys either. So it's very bad. The current situation we're in, and I mean I think it's just extremely unprofessional. And I do hope that in the future there are going to be new FIDE elections and different people will come in and take control. Because in the current situation, the current landscape of chess right now, I mean, I think it's very bad. I think it's very bad when instead of working with the players and promoting the players who bring in the sponsors and the most interest, you're actively like trying to push them. You're trying to actually basically make them hate you. That's what you're trying to do essentially. And I think it's really sad. What is the motive? I don't know what the motive is. I'm not going to speculate on what the motive is, but I think it's really just like it's that there's this naive view that somehow you can get more eyeballs or more views and you can take them away from other people. So yeah, I mean that's really all that I have to say. If you guys have questions specifically, I can answer them. But I think it's really bad. It's really bad, and I think change is needed within FIDE. I think change is definitely needed. Without a doubt. Also, you know, another thing that I would say, I think FIDE is also very scared about the current reality of how chess is moving further and further away from FIDE as well. Because you can talk about Magnus or myself, but I would also give you a third example of somebody who is not super active with classical chess right now and isn't really actively trying to make the candidates or anything like that. And that player, of course, is Alireza Firouzja. Now, in the case of Alireza, he does play a couple of tournaments, but he skipped the World Cup. He only played the Grand Swiss in terms of trying to qualify, but he's making mad bank. He's able to play in the Speed Chess Championships. He's able to play the Esports World Cup. He has the esports contract with Team Falcons, just like I do. And I think more and more, that's another thing as well, is that you're seeing players move further and further away to where FIDE is becoming less relevant. And I think that also scares them a lot as well. I think it does scare them quite a bit. So I think we're in a new world where things are changing, and we'll see what the future holds. But I think it's kind of, it's really unprofessional to see this from someone who's supposed to be the CEO of a company. I think it's just completely unnecessary. I mean, if I were a potential sponsor of a company, and I'm not from, Russia, for example, just to be very, very blunt about it, if I'm not somebody who just happens to love chess and I'm from Russia, if I'm a sponsor, let's say I'm, American, for example, and I'm in Silicon Valley, and I look at this sort of stuff, I'm going to be like, what is this guy doing? This guy is trying to like literally attack the top players consistently for what, to what end exactly? To what end? I mean, to what end are they trying to do that? Like, what's the point of it all? I mean, if I were a billionaire in Silicon Valley and I'd see this kind of stuff, I'd be like, why would I ever want to do anything with FIDE? So it's just very short-sighted. I think it's very it's just not a good strategy, and I hope that things will change in the future. That's my take. So I don't know if you guys have any questions to round out the video. I'll see if you guys do. I don't know. Do I consider Magnus a friend? I would say Magnus and I, we're not friends, but we're definitely on pretty good terms. And I think that's for a couple of reasons. I think the first reason is because we're getting a little bit older, and for both of us, we're not true rivals or competitors in the way we once were. Like, Magnus is out of FIDE. I'm kind of like playing chess, classical chess, at least semi-casually. So we're both kind of on these tracks, and we're very, very different lanes nowadays. Obviously in EWC we played and it was a great match, but we're in these very different lanes. We're not like head to head against each other in the way that we used to be. So I wouldn't say we're friends, but we're on pretty good terms now. We're on pretty good terms. And of course there are other things like the Hans thing as well, which inevitably force us to be on better terms, ironically. But yeah, so that's what I would say to answer that question. Hikaru, why don't you run for president of FIDE? I'll tell you why I won't run for president of FIDE. The reason I would not run for president of FIDE is simply because it's not worth the time or the effort. There are better things I can do with my time where I can have more impact. If I think about content creation, even a video, if I do some content creation that reaches a video that reaches 100,000 people, for example, or 100,000 views, that's 100,000 people who watch a video that I have directly impacted. Like, I've given them something in their day that like they've hopefully learned something new, or they have a new perspective on chess, or like maybe they just like hearing my voice or watching my videos, but there's something impactful to that. In chess, I don't really know what you can do within FIDE as it currently stands that's going to make a big deal. I would argue that for FIDE, the only way things can change is that they basically go in a model where you have clear transparency of everything that's done. And I'll give you an example of this. It's like, if you ask me, I think I could show you everything that I do. If FIDE were to show everything they do, where all the money is coming from, all the sponsors directly, like contracts, everything else, there's more transparency. That's one way. I think the second way is frankly moving away from a very specific country, where it seems like most of their money comes from, and I don't know how that's going to happen. If that were to happen, and you would say Western leadership from, like, say Germany, for example, or the US, or I don't want to say Canada, but just like anywhere that's like Western Europe or North America, it could be very different. But I don't see that happening. I think FIDE is basically, I don't really think that it's something that I would want to be involved in. I don't want to. Creating a different organization is borderline impossible. I've said it before. You probably have heard my negative views about freestyle chess. I think it's impossible because there are little parts of it that are different. But I would say that in general, I think that it is possible to create a separate group, but you really would need someone like Elon Musk. You would need someone with the amount of money that Elon Musk has in order for it to happen, because the only way you could create a breakaway organization that could be successful is you have to basically get the top 10 to 20 players in the world locked in for like 10 years or something. So you have to commit a huge amount of capital. And if you do that, I think you could succeed. But is someone going to be willing to put that kind of money 10 years out? Not really. A lot of startups, VCs, like they want to put money out like a couple years, like maybe 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. But it's very hard to get that kind of financing super far out. So unless you have someone who like is able to put like, put like, let's just say $200 million, $20 million a year into chess for a committed period of like a decade, I don't really think it can happen. But if you could find someone like that who would do it, you could definitely do it. Absolutely. It would be possible. But that's asking a lot. That's asking someone who's very wealthy to like put 200 million into chess. Like that's not, I mean, that's a lot of money. So anyway, I don't know what's going to change, but I do think it's really just sad to see FIDE and especially Emil. He's supposed to be the head of the organization, trying to get into little fights and attack people on the internet. It's very unprofessional. I mean, I thought he would have learned by now, but clearly he hasn't learned. He still has to keep trying to be relevant or be cool or whatever it is. But yeah, so this was the first bit of content that I want to cover, so I hope you guys did enjoy this bit on the candidates. I will be playing that tournament unless FIDE does something completely insane in March, so looking forward to that. But that's gonna do it for this video. So if you aren't already subscribed, make sure that you smash that subscribe button below, and we'll be back with more great content very soon. See you guys. Bye.